Welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a really fascinating piece of gaming news that has completely sparked a massive debate in the PlayStation community. We're looking at a confirmed leak for the PS Plus Essential lineup for August 2026. Now, normally, Sony keeps a super tight lid on these announcements until the absolute last minute, right? But not this time. We're going to unpack exactly what this game is, why its release strategy is totally breaking the normal rules, and honestly, most importantly, why it has just split the player base straight down the middle.
So you're probably wondering, what exactly is this big mystery drop? Well, interestingly enough, this information actually slipped out quite sneakily during a Nintendo Direct broadcast, of all places, before it got picked up and covered extensively by Push Square. I mean, it's definitely not every day you get your PlayStation subscription news from a Nintendo event. The whole gaming community basically immediately scrambled to see what was coming to their base tier subscriptions. So, what's the actual game?
And there it is, Big Walk. It's a succinct, pretty intriguing title, and it is our very first confirmed lock for the August 2026 Essential lineup. But before we really get into the nuts and bolts of the gameplay, the timing of this release is actually absolutely crucial to Sony's overall strategy here. August 4th, 2026. Now, while landing on a Tuesday lines up perfectly with Sony's standard drop schedule, the actual nature of this specific release is anything but standard. Section 1. What is Big Walk? Exploring the whimsical world. So, the developers have actually coined their very own kinda quirky genre classification for this. They're calling it a walker talker. At its core, it's a cooperative online game. You and your friends are essentially dropped into this massive world, and the whole focus is on exploration, solving puzzles, and, most importantly, communication. But you aren't just relying on your standard party voice chat. The game equips you with this really bizarre and delightful assortment of tools and toys to interact with each other and the environment. It's like a giant interactive playground. You're thrown into this wide-open world full of neat discoveries and collaborative puzzles. But here is the real catch. The game features a sudden loss of speech mechanics. So suddenly, you have to figure out completely new ways to communicate with your co-op partner using only those weird toys and tools you've picked up. Honestly, it sounds delightfully chaotic. And if you're wondering what studio is unhinged enough to design a game exactly like this, it's created by House. Yep, the exact same brilliant minds that brought us the viral sensation Untitled Goose Game. That pedigree alone pretty much guarantees this is going to be incredibly charming and highly unusual. Section 2. A rare Day 1 release, breaking the PS Plus mold. Okay, so let's look at the strategy here. Your standard PS Plus Essential drop typically consists of older catalog games, right? It's a way to breathe some new life into titles that have been out for a few months or even years. But Big Walk? It's a rare Day 1 release, launching straight onto the Essential tier. This means the literal very first day this game is commercially available anywhere, it is instantly in the library of every single person paying for the base level of PlayStation Plus. To put that into perspective, landing a Day 1 release here guarantees an absolutely massive, instant player base, which, is incredibly smart. Actually, it's basically essential for a game that literally requires online co-op just to function. Section 3. The community divides. Expectation versus reality. We're going to impartially look at both sides of this divide, starting with the very vocal frustration online. Take this quote from a user named Making Bacon Pancakes. They said, "Honestly, it's been a year since we haven't gotten trash. Nobody wants trash." This user went on to say they were really hoping for a massive A blockbuster like Death Stranding 2. And this perfectly illustrates the mindset of the subscriber who equates PS Plus value strictly with those high-budget single-player cinematic experiences. When an indie, whimsical co-op game is announced as the big headliner, that specific expectation is entirely shattered, and that leads to this kind of stark, very real disappointment. But we have to immediately juxtapose that with this quote from user Blaway_Chamai. They wrote, "Perfect game for my sons and me," until one of us will rage quit. This captures the exact opposite end of the spectrum. For this user, the value of the subscription isn't found in hyper-realistic graphics or some brooding cinematic solo campaign. It's in accessible, family-friendly fun. They see the co-op nature of Big Walk not as a detriment at all, but as the entire selling point. It's a way for them to connect and, playfully argue with their kids. Now, the debate goes much deeper than just graphics or budget, though. It touches on the very mechanics of how we play games today. Take this really fascinating structural critique from user Blue Moon 2008. They stated,
I simply do not understand why any dev would choose to make their game in a genre with such a substantial barrier to entry. This user actually noted they liked Untitled Goose Game, but they have absolutely zero interest in a game that forces them to rely on other people. For a dedicated solo gamer, forced online co-op isn't just a feature, it is perceived as a massive, almost insurmountable hurdle to actually enjoying the product.
But as we all know, the gaming community is always quick to police itself, and this pushback from user James42 is incredibly telling. They replied to that last comment saying, not to be mean, but it is a bit funny you consider needing friends to play with a substantial barrier. James goes on to explain that this is actually their most anticipated PS Plus game ever, and they were planning to buy it day one to play with their mates anyway. So here we are seeing the friction in real time. What one player considers a totally frustrating roadblock, another player considers the ultimate defining feature of the game.
So, if we take a step back, we can really organize all this online chaos into two distinct factions. First up, you have the single-player purists. They expect big AAA solo titles to justify that monthly subscription fee, and they view mandatory co-op as a literal barrier to entry. Their overall sentiment right now is overwhelmingly negative and frustrated. Conversely, you have the indie co-op optimists. They are totally thrilled for some whimsical, experimental fun. They really trust the developers of Untitled Goose Game, and they absolutely love the social aspect. Their sentiment is highly positive and full of anticipation. It's honestly amazing how one 4-player walking game can expose such a massive rift in what consumers actually want out of a gaming subscription service. Which brings us to the final, provocative thought for today's explainer. We've seen the gameplay, we've analyzed the rare day one release strategy, and we've explored this deep community divide. Now the question turns to you. Where do you fall in this great PS Plus debate? Are you a solo gamer holding out for that next massive AAA cinematic drop, feeling maybe a bit let down by this? Or are you an indie optimist, eagerly looking forward to grabbing a wacky toy, losing your voice, and taking a chaotic co-op stroll with your friends this coming August? It's a really fascinating divide, and it definitely makes you think about the wildly diverse ways we all consume media today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring.